Hey guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera, and this week's episode is going to be a dating episode, specifically the state of the dating world.
Why is the dating world in shambles? I don't know, working title, but we'll come up with something. The reason being, I feel like I could ask any single person, honestly, even people who are in relationships right now, and I think men and women alike would agree that if they were kind of to describe, like, dating culture right now, is it good or bad? I think over 90% of people would be like, it's bad. Like, it's rough out here.
I mean, even, like, I can, come at this from the perspective of, like, okay, I'm in a relationship now, but I was single, the first 25 years of my life. So I do have, some experience with the dating world. I don't think it's changed significantly since I left.
So I've got kind of an outline of things that we'll talk through. Obviously, like, we bring a female perspective. My outline, I use ChatGPT to assist with the outline, and I asked them to help provide kind of like both a woman's perspective, which we can dive into a little bit more just off of our experience, and then also like a male's perspective to, kind of tackle both ends of the issue, or like both thought pools. So that's what we're going to dive into today. Before we get started, we of course are going to do our weekly spotlights, any catch-up, and our reading updates.
I feel like we do reading update first, and then I would imagine our spotlight is going to just be the weekend. We can do a little weekend recap. So, reading update, I think that last time I spoke to you guys, I was reading The Blood Trader. I still am reading The Blood Trader. Hopefully we'll finish it sometime this week.
Last I spoke to you guys, I was reading Kristen Hanna's Firefly Lane, and I finished that book, and I gave it 4 stars. I was debating, like, do I want to give it a little bit higher? Mostly just because I feel like when I read a contemporary fiction book that I like, it really does kind of just stick a little bit more. Like, I get the characters a little bit more fleshed out, and like the plot itself is just more unique for me to remember. So, and sometimes I'm like, does that mean like this was a more enjoyable book? But I'm sticking with 4 stars. I enjoyed the book. I will plan on continuing to delve into more Kristen Hanna in the future.
You know what I realized? We need to record our book club episode this week, don't we?
I already knew that. That'll be coming Saturday.
For all of our book club listeners.
If you don't know what our virtual book club is, you guys can hit the link in the description and either become a member on Spotify Premium or join our Patreon. We do monthly book club recap episodes, and then also we're pretty active on our Fable app. That's what we use for our book club platform. Okay, and then I'm currently reading Rewind It Back by Liz Tomford. It's the 5th book in the Windy City series. Possibly I might finish it tonight. We'll see. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not sure. Right now I'm like, is it 2 or 3 is kind of where it's hanging out right now. So we'll have to see where that ends up at. But like, the right move in my mind is kind of like, that was my first book I read in the series, because I have not read the first book, and it's just kind of like the pedestal that I have. But I love the series altogether. Can you guys believe I have, I'm like so into the Windy City series in Chestnut Springs, and Ciera has not read but one of the Windy City series books. Can you believe that?
Yes, I can.
It's on her TBR. It's on the list.
I got a lot of stuff on the list I need to work my way through. Okay. Weekly spotlight and weekend recap, because Megan and I went to a wedding this past weekend. We were actually in the wedding. We were both bridesmaids. One of our friends from PT school got married. And it was just like the best.
It was a really fun wedding.
Like, yeah. Not only like was the wedding fun, but then I feel like Sunday, like, we also did some fun like summer type stuff. And so we'll just run through the weekend.
I will say, like, because this wedding was like a little bit out of town. Like, the rehearsal dinner was on Friday, and I don't know why, like, leading up to it, like, this weekend, I think it's just like the idea of like, I have like this like huge time chunk that's like, that's what my weekend is for. And so like leading up to the wedding, I was like, I know I'm gonna have a good time, but just like preemptively, I'm like, this is just gonna be
my
like
Saturday is blocked
like,
out.
My Saturday, wedding, that's it. And like Friday, obviously after work, like, we've got to go do the rehearsal dinner. So I wasn't like upset or like anything like that. I was just like, my whole weekend, like, this is it. It's the wedding. And I just don't do well with that usually. But I was like I'm going to have more fun than I would just be like sitting at home. And I did. Right. But it's just funny how your mind kind of works like that.
So Vegas was boarded for the weekend. We went to the rehearsal dinner. We were the last ones to show up, embarrassingly.
Yeah,
but, like,
we were like 10 minutes late.
And like we were like the last ones there.
Mm-hmm. They were waiting for us to get
to
there
be fair,
to do the rehearsing.
We were like, check-in just took longer than I had initially thought. It was like a
slow check-in
process. She's like asking me like what book I'm reading, and I'm like,
can you just give me my keys and I gotta go change into this dress and leave?
Because we went basically like, I left work at 3:10 or something, and then came straight home. We were basically packed from the night before, so we just had to throw Vegas in the car and head up. But it was like an hour and 45 minutes away, and we got to the hotel at like 5:45, and then again lengthy check-in process, quick change, got to the rehearsal dinner location at like 6:10.
We did our best, so, and you know, it was fine. And then after that, this is also like, I was centering a few TikToks around this weekend as well. I had like, you know, I was like, what dress do you guys want me to wear? And then I did a little dress reveal. But there really was nothing else going on Friday night after the rehearsal dinner. And also, like, we're friends with, like, our friend is the one getting married, but like, we don't really know like anyone else at this wedding except for like some of the other bridesmaids we've obviously met with, like going to the bridal shower and bachelorette trip. So we just opted to, like, the rehearsal dinner was done probably at like 8-ish, 8:30. And then we just like went back to the hotel. We were told that the hairstylist was requesting people have like freshly washed hair and blow dry it. So we both showered and washed our hair.
I had to edit and upload a video.
Ciera did that, and then we were just trying to like get in bed early because it was an early morning the next day.
I actually like passed out. Like, granted, it wasn't like super early, but like at 10:45, like I was like, maybe I'll like watch some YouTube videos or something or whatever. And I was just like, I am out. Good night.
This is not the most shocking thing ever because like Ciera and I put like Forensic Files and like Dateline on often enough on our own, but like for whatever reason, like at a hotel especially, like that's what's going to be on. I'm so sorry, I don't make the rules. So anyways, we woke up Saturday morning. We all met in the lobby with like a bunch of the other bridesmaids because most people were staying at the same hotel. And then we carpooled over to the wedding venue. Getting ready for a wedding. This is the second wedding that I've been in as a bridesmaid. And I don't know what you do to make the experience just kind of like more than just sitting there. But like, what a long day and a long getting ready process when like you're really not doing much. It was like we got there at 7:30 and then we had pictures starting at like 12:30ish. Like, that's 5 hours. But like, I'm obviously not getting ready for 5 hours of my day. I did my makeup myself, and then my hair was done. And my hair maybe took like an hour if I'm being generous.
Which even then, I was like, there's no way these hair people are going to take an hour to do
they did.
each hairstyle. They did.
They really did.
I was like, I just want my hair curled. How is this taking an hour? But like, I know they do like the teasing.
You know what I was kind of like realizing? I was wondering, because and my hair was fine. I don't really have any qualms with my hair, but like it was kind of like the same thing when I got my hair done for Haley's wedding, where
you showed a picture.
I like show a picture and like I am wanting kind of like larger curls. I show a picture for both these people. This girl at least used a curling wand. The person at Haley's wedding used a straightener to curl my hair, and I was like, this is not going to give me a blowout looking curls. And this girl used like a large barrel, but I'm kind of wondering, when I curl my hair with a curling iron, like it still doesn't look like that, but I never section my hair, and I'm kind of wondering, I feel like all of like, they take little small sections and do like the whole head of hair curled like that, and I feel like that itself is like a technique that's different than what I do, because I do like straight up and down long large sections, and that's how I curl my hair. And then also the hairstylist was asking if I wanted my hair to be teased to have a little bit more volume, and I said yes, because I was like, sure. And she was like, it'll help it hold better, give you more volume. I was like, that sounds great. And that was fine, but then like my hair is not usually like, I feel like flyaways are pretty like tame most of the time. But like with the teasing that she was done, and then like the amount of like hairspray that was like in my hair, I was just like, I feel like I can't like get my flyaways down now. They're just kind of like locked in place. So I got it tamed a little bit with like some lotion that I had, but
some lotion for the hair.
I've just kind of been like, after the fact, I was like, what is it about like the curling method that like she curled my hair, she did a bunch of sections, she teased stuff. You would think that like, what else do you do? and it was fine. Like, the curls, they looked fine. They looked good. I just was like,
Megan
how
feels
does
like
someone
she could do better.
find, how does someone do what I'm trying to do? Or, like, I could have done my hair myself theoretically, but, like, I don't know if that would last. I also am like, it was a little bit windy, so, like, probably was a good thing that there was, like, a bunch of hairspray in my hair, so, like, that it stays in place for pictures. I probably would not have done that myself. And so, I don't know. It's a back and forth of, like, yes, I like how I do my hair on my own, but, like, to what possible detriment would that be from, like, a photo standpoint? Anyways, that was a long-winded, unnecessary thing. Yeah, getting ready went pretty smoothly. I don't have any other things. We had breakfast that was brought to us, like some things from Hy-Vee. We had like bagels, muffins, donuts, things like that. And then we did pictures from probably like 12:30 to 2-ish or something.
What was funny was so like the groomsmen, obviously, like for any wedding ever, they don't really show up until like midday. If the wedding's like, it was 4 o'clock was when the ceremony was. And they were out golfing in the morning, and they came to the venue and like they were eating lunch and stuff, and then we were going to like meet them and get lunch too. They must have they were hungry because
they ate 90%
left
of the food.
Like one sandwich for like each bridesmaid.
They had to have each had like 3 or 4 of these little like half Subway sandwiches. And
like,
then we all got
like
one.
half of like a box left. And there were 3 boxes.
We got some more snacks though. So
yeah, thank God she had some, like, I think her aunt was like running around like trying to make sure odds and ends were met. And those snacks were good. Like Starburst hit for whatever reason when I was snacking.
And then the weather this day was also like
beautiful,
perfect.
stunning.
It was like sunny, but then actually during the ceremony, because it was like a little bit toasty when you're taking pictures. But then during the ceremony, it actually was kind of like not overcast, but like the sun was certainly not beating down. It was like the perfect temperature. So the ceremony started at 4. They did a bunch of like pictures with family beforehand actually, so that they didn't have to do that.
There's a lot of family there.
Lots of family, which
like normally you see the bride like for the first time when she walks down the aisle, but like I was like, I think half your guests saw you.
Yeah.
Which, obviously was expected for pictures, but.
And then, so ceremony started at 4. We were bridesmaids, so we obviously like walked down the aisle with our groomsmen, our selected groomsmen. And then the ceremony itself was only like
10 minutes?
15, 20 minutes maybe. It was a really quick ceremony, which I personally am a fan
like, quite
of.
literally,
Like, to be honest, I was just like, oh, we're going back down.
The rehearsal dinner, he was like, okay, then I'll say this, then I'll say that, so we'll do this. And so I was like, okay, like each individual thing will maybe be like 5 to 10 minutes or so. No, I think each individual thing was like 2 minutes.
Yeah, really quick and to the point. But who doesn't like that,
None of us tripped down the aisle, so that was good.
And then after that, this was probably mentioned somewhere in the itinerary, I'm sure. But this was kind of a surprise to me when it was happening. So immediately after the ceremony, it was like, okay, bridal party is going on a party bus. And I was like, oh, surprise. I didn't know that. But we went on a party bus for like an hour between the ceremony and then going back to do dinner. It was just like riding around a bunch of small towns. We didn't get off anywhere. It was just for drinking for most people and dancing. Vibes.
Then we got back, did the bridal party entrance. We actually went in, like, all the groomsmen went in together and all the bridesmaids went in together. And it was kind of funny because they opened up, like, this garage, but it was, like, a completely clear garage door. So, like, you could see us, like, coming in. And, like, they announced our names so fast. Like, we're basically just, like, running down.
Yeah.
I used the word running lightly. It was a fast walk to the end of the table. And then food. The food was so
really good. And I'm not one to... I don't usually, like, have super high compliments for wedding food because, in my opinion, most of the time it's just, like, meh. Okay. Like, it's food, I guess. But this was good food. It was buffet style. It wasn't, like, anything, like... It wasn't a super crazy menu. It was just good food. We had mashed potatoes. They had a good salad. They had multiple different selections for meat. I don't even like pulled pork, but I grabbed a bunch of like, it wasn't pulled pork, but it was like essentially unpulled pork, if you will. And I thought it was chicken at first when I was looking at it, so I put a bunch on my plate. And then when I got back to my table, I was like, this is not chicken. But I ate it anyways, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. It was good. We had rolls. We had
Costco cake. That was also
Costco
good.
cake. We had potato salad. It was all good. I really can't complain. It was actively good.
I know, I ate everything. I was like, I'd go back for seconds, but
I didn't.
Did not. And they even did like a late night pizza run at the end. I didn't even get any of the pizza because I wasn't really that hungry. And then by the time I was maybe thinking I wanted pizza, they were already out.
And then from after dinner till like 11:30.
They did speeches, dances. All the speeches were so good.
They were good. Especially her dad's. He just wung it.
It's always the speeches that they're like, I don't have anything. Like, they don't have any prepared words that are like, I'm just winging this. And they always turn out the best.
Yeah. And it's like, well, you didn't have to make a speech because you knew you'd be good at this.
Yeah. Like, Megan and I knew we needed to make a speech, and we still, like, it wasn't that good.
It wasn't great. Like, it wasn't like we bombed our speech, but it just, like, no one was like, that was a really good speech. You know what I mean?
Or it'd be like, oh, like, your speech was good in the sense that, like, everyone's speech was good, you know? Yeah. But if they had to rank
it wasn't
the speeches,
memorable.
Ours would probably be last.
Yeah, and then your boyfriend came.
It's my first wedding date. So that was
How
fun.
was that? How did it compare to
not
your single wedding?
A wedding date? No, it was fun. I was worried initially because he obviously is only there because I'm there and I'm in the bridal party, and he doesn't know, like, he'd never even met the bride or the groom, didn't know anyone there. And so I was kind of like,
Ciera had a +1 invite.
I did.
Like, let it be known.
So I was initially thinking, like, okay, it doesn't matter where he sits for the wedding because, like, the ushers will just be like, sit wherever. And he's not talking to anyone. So, you know. Then I was thinking, after the ceremony, like, I'll see him for a little bit, and then, like, we'll part ways while we eat, and then, like, it'll be reception time, and we're back together. So, party bus, obviously, I was gone. I was like, oh, I didn't realize there was a party bus. So, luckily, he came up on Saturday, and he was actually stopping at a hotel to check into our room. Like, we'd already checked in, but he was going to get ready in the hotel room. So, as he's leaving the hotel room to come to the wedding, there's these two other, like, this couple that's like, are you going to the wedding? And he's like, yeah, because they showed up to the hotel thinking it was at the hotel. And so they were asking where it was. And he's like, if you just follow me, like, I will show you the way. And then this couple basically just, like, ended up adopting him for the evening for when I was not there. He sat by them during the wedding. And then afterwards, they, like, took him to their table and had him sit with them for dinner and such. And I think he was getting along great with them. Like, every time I looked over, they're chatting away. The groom's dad came over, like, later and was like, hey, thanks for, like, babysitting. I think it's just, like, a well-known, like, I think he was, like, one of the high school coaches or something, but he's, like, an older, like, retired guy now. And so he's like, thanks for babysitting, coach, or whatever. And so I think he just is a talker and likes to meet people. Mm-hmm. They literally, according to my boyfriend, they were like, God must have sent you to, like, when we needed help at the hotel, like, he sent you for us. And he was like, okay.
That's I could be that
compliment. But no, he was good. And then after we were done eating and stuff, we got to dance all night, and it was a fun reception.
I'm someone that, like, for a wedding reception, like, shoes are coming off pretty much immediately. Because we were in, like, our little 3-inch heels, and, like, it was bearable for the ceremony and pictures and stuff, but, like, I just don't do well in heels, so my feet were hurting. So as soon as I could take them off, that's what I did. I felt much better.
And then we stayed, like, the entire night. I didn't know if we were going to stay, like, the entire time. Like, I figured we're in the bridal party, like, we'll stay.
I figured we'd stay pretty late. As,
you know, is feasible. It started clearing out around, like, 11:30. It was, like, when they did, like, last dance and whatever.
Like, till the end. And then I think some people might have stayed to, like, do some cleaning, but
yeah. And then hotel, we all rinsed off, went to bed, got up, left. Megan drove back separately, and then since my boyfriend drove up on Saturday, I just rode back with him. And is there anything else wedding recap wise, or we can talk about Sunday's highlights? Our beach is open.
Our beach is open. I I did make a TikTok, so I won't
do you want to go
belabor it
through
here.
Your fun little, not update, but
I had like some uneventful, but like fun to share news for anyone who cares.
It's flattering.
So there were 2 guys at the wedding that like I had heard from just other people chatting that like said that they were maybe interested in me. As of right now, like there was one guy that I was chatting with throughout like the evening. I was flattered. I would say I was like maybe interested, but like logistically there are just multiple things where I'm like, this probably would not go anywhere. So that's what that's at. But I was flattered nonetheless, and I had a good time. So that's that.
Sunday we got back, did some typical Sunday reset stuff, groceries, cleaning, picked Vegas up from boarding, and then it's a beautiful day, so we decided to see if our beach was open, and lo and behold, it was, and lots of people were there. It was a beautiful sunny day. I met my boyfriend back at the beach, and then Megan joined us a little bit later, and he brought Jimmy John's. So we got Jimmy John's for lunch, not for Megan. I don't know what you did for lunch.
I had some toasted ravioli.
Okay. And then hung out there for a little bit. Megan left before we did, and then we went and got some ice cream on the way back because, when in Polk City, why not? And came back pretty chill rest of the night. We watched a movie. You've seen Now You See Me, right? That's the movie that we watched. I was like, I think I've seen this, but I don't remember it that well. It was all right.
And here we are, Monday.
And now it's Monday. We made it through another work day. I woke up today and I was just like,
weekends
that are so fun. Like, make you really
now I have
not
to
want to
like,
go back.
I'm like, I can't keep doing this for the next 40 years.
But even like Sunday, yesterday, like if that's just a glimpse into summer, like it's going to be a good summer.
So yeah, that's our recap. So now I guess we should delve into the episode. Okay, give me one moment, you guys, to get things pulled up. Feel free to, like, anytime you want to jump in, because, like, Ciera hasn't looked at this outline, so just anytime you want to jump in, go for it. Okay, so we're mostly going to be talking about modern dating, and to be honest, like, I don't feel like dating has changed much since we've kind of entered the dating world, so I feel like it's hard, like, we can't really speak to, back then, obviously, versus now.
I feel like, because online dating and dating apps used to be like such a taboo thing that like it was embarrassing
and
for
now
people to say that, and
now
norm.
It's like norm. It's almost shocking when you're not on a dating app if you're like interested in dating. We'll talk about, like I said, male experience versus female experience to the best of our abilities, and then like just kind of like historical trends related to dating, what was more common back then versus now. And any personal anecdotes, relationship experiences, whatever. So, to set the tone, if you guys don't know, I'm Megan. I'm 25 years old.
Here's your resume.
I have been mostly single for most of my life, with 2 short stints of like 2-ish month long relationships. What does that say about me? I don't know. You guys can judge or not judge. But I'm a confident individual and I am confident in myself. So,
my resume. Hi, I'm Ciera. I'm 25.
Hi, I'm Elwood. This is Bruiser.
I was single for all of my life until just after I turned 25.
Do you think Andrew... Should we do
a
name?
We can say his name.
His comments on your TikTok. Okay. So sorry, I just broke the fourth wall. Do you think he would fall for the current boyfriend trend? Do you get what I mean? You've seen that, right?
He has TikTok, so like if he
he's maybe seen it then.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
I also feel like if I tried that on him, like he'd be weirded out that I was like filming something with him because I haven't done that a lot.
Okay, you can proceed. Sorry.
Okay. So just after like October of last year, I started dating my current boyfriend. We've been dating for about 8 months now.
My current boyfriend. You just did
it. You've gone into my mind now. My boyfriend. We've been dating for 8 months now.
Okay. So, to get started here. Current, so let's start with talking about, thank you. How do you feel like, obviously not so much in our lifetimes, but dating obviously used to be a lot different when, like, let's say our parents were dating, okay? Usually, and this is, I feel like, what everyone almost is, like, striving for now, but it's like you met people in real life, in person, organically. You kind of almost went through, like, a courting process where the guy is making it known that he's interested. He's doing things to kind of, woo the lady and say, like, I'm the one you want, and then actually get into a relationship. Versus now, in comparison, I feel like there's a lot more gray area and just way less commitment, or like just everything is so much more casual now. Like, we've got hookup culture, we've got situationships, we've got people are talking versus not talking.
We should talk about timelines, or phrasing, like how you identify phrasing and like what that means to you, and then I can do the same, and you guys can also share.
I feel like I'll say what I'm thinking now, and then, like, don't hold me to this, because I do feel like sometimes I might, like, change my mind. I feel like I might say I'm talking to someone if I'm, like, texting and in communication with them, but let's say, like, we haven't gone on a date yet. And for me to say I'm talking to someone, like, it needs to be, like, somewhat consistent. Like, a message back and forth on Hinge, I'm probably just saying, like, we've messaged back and forth a couple times. I'm not talking to that guy at that point. I feel like, let's say you hit, like, a week or so of the texting or messaging back and forth, like, I would say, like, okay, I'm talking with someone right now. Once you have a date, like, scheduled and planned, and you go on a date, it kind of just depends on, like, okay, if it's just, like, one date and then you're, like, not interested anymore, like, obviously that's just, like, nothing.
It's done.
There is nothing there anymore. If you're go on a date and then, like, expecting and continuing to talk and planning additional dates, then to be honest, like, I personally don't really use the phrase, like, oh, like, I'm dating this person. I don't really know why. That just, like, bothers me a little bit, because to me, like, dating someone means, like, it's kind of pretty consistent and maybe, or, like, at least exclusive a little bit. So I would use the phrasing, like, I would be like, I'm going on dates with this person. Is, like, if I was going on multiple dates with this person, that's how I would say that. I wouldn't be like, I'm dating this person. Because
if I hear other people say that, then I assume they're, like, exclusive boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever.
Yeah.
Is my assumption.
Even though I know other people don't. Like, that's kind of how I assume that's what they mean, but, like, I know that's not always what people mean. But, and then.
But then people say, like, I'm dating this guy, and they're like, oh, well, that's not your boyfriend then. So,
right.
I don't know.
So then, after, so many dates and seeing each other consistently, then eventually someone's got to ask the other person if they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and then you're in a relationship. It's kind of how I do it. Did I miss, like, any verbiage that is used otherwise?
I don't think so. I think that sums it up, and I feel like I agree with you. Like, to me, like, being in a relationship and, like, saying I'm dating someone are, like, synonymous. Like, I would use them interchangeably.
Mm-hmm. Because one of the things I wanted to talk about for this episode is kind of, like, I have an answer of, like, maybe what I would say personally, but, like, in your opinion, what do you feel like, if you had to classify kind of, like, one thing as being the reason for how horrible dating culture is now, like, what would that be to you?
I mean, in one word, maybe, like, nonchalance.
Okay. You could do, like, one concept or idea if you wanted.
Well, I just feel like the idea, I guess, to expand off of that is that dating is not the end-all be-all these days, and so people don't treat it like it is, which is, good and bad.
Yeah.
But people don't take it seriously, necessarily.
Okay. I agree with that. I was going to say I feel like the illusion of choice is kind of, like, I feel like it branches off and can be a possible cause of, like, many things, like, that are problematic with dating today. I think that I will be the first person to say, like, I'm guilty of, like, feeling like with the expanded bubble and access to people that we have now via online dating apps, via social media, like, it feels like the world is your oyster when it comes to online dating or just dating and relationships in general.
And you're like, well, I don't have to settle, which is like
used
good.
to be like that.
But you also can't always say like the grass is going to be greener on the other side.
It used to be, you know, especially if someone lived in a small town, it was like, here
are your 10
town,
choices.
Here are 20 people. I hope you like one of them. And guess what? They usually do, as far as you know. And they stay married for a very long time. And, you know, now it's just so not that way. I feel like also kind of extending off of that, people used to have more of like, we can talk about third spaces. People used to have a lot more in-person community, whether that was like athletic stuff, whether that was church organizations, libraries. Like, people would be out and about in their community more. And now that people are finding a lot more community online, people just aren't leaving their houses as much. They're not meeting other people really outside of their houses or online. And there's less, like, so many people met through other people, like friends of friends, gatherings where these people are coming together, and now like these two people can hit it off even though they didn't know each other before. And now there are so few situations where you're bringing a bunch of new groups of people together, because like that's just not what people do anymore.
People don't hang out in groups like they used to.
No, they don't. Because it's like, I think, like, from someone who is obviously still single, and like I briefly last summer was making a series of like trying to meet men in the wild, and it's just like these situations, obviously people still do meet people like out and about in the real world, but like just being out and about, like running errands or being at like this one-off farmer's market, like people aren't usually looking to interact with other people. They're there with other people, or they're just like doing their own thing, running their errands, and it's not really a setting or situation in which, like,
it's not a third space.
Yeah, exactly. You're not just like intermingling with other people most of the time. So I feel like you think, oh, I could go meet people out and about at these places, but they're not as conducive to the actual conversation happening. Because it's like, it is one thing. Like, I feel like the best you get today is like you see someone that's cute maybe, and you try and go up to like ask for someone's number, and then like that's about all you can do. You're not really like conversing with them or getting to know them beforehand. You're just shooting your shot and hoping for the best.
And no shame in it.
And there is, yeah, it's just, that's kind of how it is now. We can talk a little bit about your nonchalance take though as well.
Well, I just feel like, you know, back in the day, it was, you know, standard for people to get married super young. Like, the idea is that you start a family. Women typically weren't working.
I feel like, you know, values and like changes in values have certainly played a role in this as well. I think society as a whole used to very much value like the traditional family, like you get married young, you work, you have kids, and your job is just kind of like as a family unit. And society has shifted now to be more focused probably on like the individual and like the individual wants and goals that someone has, rather than just pursuing a family. But like you said, that means a lot of people aren't in a rush. No one's really in a hurry to
like
find
some people
their
don't
person.
know if they even want to get married. Some people don't know if they want to have kids. And so there's also like that diversion in, like, it used to be pretty much that everyone's like, we're dating, we're getting married, we're having kids. And now people are like, well, we can date, we can keep it casual, we might get married down the line, maybe I don't even want kids, maybe like,
it's almost like people themselves like just don't know what they want anyways. But then I don't know if this will make sense or not, but like, is it that people's values have actually shifted, or is it that people just have more choice in what they actually want to value now versus like beforehand? Maybe I am going to speak to like women specifically, but it's just like, obviously women in the past had more of a expectation to like become wives and mothers and then raise the children, and maybe most of them wanted to do that. I don't know, but
and
it's
I think
also
it's
like
nature versus nurture. Is it in a woman's nature to want to become a mother, get married, maybe. It was also them being nurtured in that type of environment that showed, like, here's this, how amazing it is to be a mother when you're so young and get married and have kids. And, like, it, you know, that was how they were raised versus, like, again, we were raised with, like, yeah, you can do that.
Because I certainly, like, I value the idea of being a wife and mom, but, like, that does not drive me to, like, be searching for my eventual soulmate. Like, I'm just not, like, I need to be a mother, like, in this amount of time. So, like, I really, like, time crunches on because I need to find, you know, the person I'm going to do that with. What I value more than, like, being wife eventually would, like, coincide with this, but what I value more than being a mom is having a partner that I feel like is, like, fully invested in our relationship first, that I feel like is a good partner and someone that adds value to my life. And if I don't find that, like, then I guess I'm out of luck because, you know, I'm not going to proceed past that just to then, like, find someone good enough to, like, have a kid or have, you know, a family that I've so dreamed of. I'd rather have nothing at all than feel like I was being weighed down by someone else. Okay. Next thing. How do you feel like, I guess we can talk about, like, the different types of dating apps and dating culture and paid versus not paid stuff, maybe. Here's all the ones that I've tried out. I feel like, if I'm remembering correctly, in college, the first one that I got was Tinder, just because I felt like that was most relevant to, like, the age and demographic. It was like a
numbers game.
Yeah.
You know?
And most college boys are not, like, on Hinge looking for, I feel like most people now on Hinge aren't looking for a serious relationship, but college especially, also not. I had Tinder, but, like, I never went on any Tinder dates. And, like, after I was done with college, probably undergrad, honestly, I was like, I think I'm done with Tinder, and if I'm going to try a dating app out, it's going to be Hinge. So then I've had Hinge on and off for years at this point. I've also briefly tried Bumble, although I've got to say, for whatever reason,
Bumble's always kind of off-putting.
It was short-lived for me, and it's been a little while since I've been on it, but I don't know why. I just kind of don't love it. I haven't loved my experience on it yet. I think part of it is, like, as much as I feel like I am a feminist, I also am kind of, like, there are certain traits, and this is, like, I know men probably have, like, their experience of, like, things that they get frustrated about in dating, but I get frustrated in dating a lot because when I feel like I'm the one putting in the effort and initiation with, like, the people that I do match with, like, I feel like I'm always the one putting in more effort.
You're
so
like,
the idea of, like, being on Bumble and, like, I have to be the first one to make the move, I just was like, I don't know if I want that because I already struggle so hard to have someone that feels like they're initiating. So that's why I feel like I was kind of a little bit put off by Bumble.
I also have had, I think, the same 3 apps, kind of similar time frames. Like, I started on Tinder and then aged out with my goals, I guess, and was like, I need more of a, what I think
more sophisticated men,
a serious relationship. And so Hinge was, like, I think Hinge is still the best app for if you are looking for a relationship. Like, Hinge is the best bet. I also think it's just, like, becoming more and more popular where it's not necessarily, like, a numbers game where it's like, oh, if you get on, like, Tinder, that was, like, my logic of, like, there's probably more people on Tinder than there are on Hinge. And I don't feel like that's necessarily the case anymore. At the very least, I feel like there's a lot of crossover. And
there is, trust me.
And Hinge, I think, gives you more information. At least since, you know, I've been on Tinder in a while. I don't know if they've made any updates. And then I've been on Bumble for a short period of time. But I don't think I ever talked to anyone on there. I don't know.
I still, like, personally, there's obviously different paywalls that people can pay for different dating apps. And this is, like,
no shade if you've done for anything. But I said, if I ever pay anything for a dating app, you need to lock me away.
Someone would have to write a thesis on, like, why it's worth it to be doing a premium or paid subscription to a dating app, because I can't imagine doing that personally. Just because, like, I would be so, like, I'm paying for this and, like, nothing is coming of it. So I would be like, I'm just wasting money on nothing. So we've already kind of talked about like the decline of serious relationships, as you were saying. I feel like we touched on that with, values are different now. People just don't seem to want to enter a serious relationship. Here's another thing I've noticed. I don't know what a guy's experience is scrolling through like a dating app, let's say, just because that's the topic of conversation. And if women have like what they're looking for, I need a percentage breakdown here of like when guys are going through what is it that girls say they're looking for. And I can't know for sure because I haven't seen like, what is said, but I have like, I'm looking for a long-term relationship on my personal thing. And like, I should do a percentage of breakdown. Should I go through 5 guys right now and see like how many even have anything and what does it say? Because if I see someone has in their profile figuring out my dating goals or like anything of that nature, why?
Like you're here.
You can figure it out without me then, because what am I to do with this information?
I always feel like guys...
First one, figuring out my dating goals. Okay, next. We're on number 2 now. This person's looking for a long-term relationship. We're 50-50. Number 3, long-term relationship open to short. This is promising. This is more than what we usually see. Number 4, long-term relationship. Ooh. Okay, I'm proving myself wrong. Last person, figuring out my dating goals. The mixed bag there. Okay. Usually, like, my impression is always, like, everyone's always figuring out their dating goals. No one knows what they want.
Well, I feel like the tricky thing is, and why guys put this, is, like, they think if they put, like, they're looking for a long-term relationship, and they're
wrong.
They'll match with you, and they're like, well, I don't know, though.
Or, we've already talked about this before, so, like, we're not going to belabor it, but it's just, like, when they have they're looking for, like, a long-term relationship or something, and it's just, like, not just looking to kind of like get to know someone and see where it goes.
Yeah.
That's literally what dating is. What else do you think is going to happen? Like, I think you should put, if you are on this app and you are hoping that at the end of the day, like you want to like find your long-term partner in person. That's what you're hoping for. If you're not, then like there's other options for you. But if that's your goal, then I feel like you should put long-term relationship.
Right.
Because that's, if you go on dates with someone and it doesn't work out, probably, move on to the next one.
I always feel like
that doesn't change what you're looking for.
Doesn't make any sense.
I feel like, to me, that's a cop-out for, like, wanting friends with benefits. That's what that reads as to me.
Is there not something casual on there?
No. There's figuring out dating goals.
Those are the only 2 options?
No. But there's not, like, something that says, like, casual, I don't think.
Oh.
So that's what I always take it to mean. That.
Okay.
Okay. Next point of conversation, I closed out of my app, so hold on.
We gotta open up the AI.
We can also talk about ghosting a little bit. What do you feel like? Because if I have been on a date with someone, like, I personally am not going to ghost them. I feel like a written text of, here's my thoughts is
what if it's a mutual ghost?
Warranted. That's okay.
Because I have been on a date with someone where, like, we went on one date, verbally, like, exchanged pleasantries. I don't think we even spoke about a second date, which I felt like, was a good sign in terms of, like, I was not interested. It's like, okay, maybe he's not interested. And then
if no one reaches out after the date, then no harm, no foul.
Right.
Because then you're not leaving someone on red. I think that's fine. I have been ghosted after, like, a second date, which, like, I wasn't, like, head over heels, like, this person's going to be, like, we're on a roll here. But I still was kind of, like,
ouch.
A text or something would have been, like, especially because it was, like, after a second date, and then the texting kind of, like, ensued and just continued. And then I was just, like, you could have, like, said something, I feel like, just so, makes sense.
Maybe it's just, I feel like people that are people pleasers, which I would say we are, like, probably get more, like, or would be less likely to say, like, ghosting is okay.
And then I was talking with someone a couple weeks ago on Hinge, and we were kind of talking back and forth a little bit, but, like, slow moving conversations towards actually, like, progressing towards a date. And then like just multiple things kind of came up / I did more perusing where I just was like not sure that I was like super interested in this person anymore. So I did decide like that I was going to just like stop responding. And I was like, I don't feel great about this, but like I also feel like at that point, like I don't have constructive criticism to give you.
No,
when
I
haven't even met you in
met
person.
them,
like I'm not going to say, hey, I'm just no longer interested because of XYZ thing
that I looked up about you.
And so then like I just decided like, okay, I'm going to stop here and like we'll call it good. A week and a half later, they text me again being like, how was your weekend? And I always felt bad because I was just like, should I just like say something or like, hey, like I'm not really interested. I did come to the consensus that like, no, I didn't need to. And I just need to stand my ground and not respond. So that's what I did.
I feel like, yeah,
I was close though.
Your feelings can get hurt. Like you've probably been on the opposite, receiving end of this. Like, but if you haven't met them in person, I don't feel like you are owed an explanation. Like it's a dating game that, we're all playing.
It's unfortunate.
And sometimes people lose interest for whatever reason. I do think if you meet someone in person and like someone is like trying not to like get your attention, but like, again, I said the mutual ghost, fine. If that person had like reached back out to me and said something, then I feel like I'd have said something like,
yeah, I wasn't really interested in the date. So see you later. Wish you the best.
See you never, actually. Do you feel like with you're obviously still on Hinge, is there like a certain time frame that you are looking for to like be like, let's set up a date?
It really kind of depends on like my mood. I always feel like personally, like the sooner the better most often. I get wanting to like feel someone out a little bit and like maybe banter back and forth. But sometimes like if it like flows with the conversation, which like I don't really have an example, but like I'll tee him up to like, hey, here's an open opportunity to like segue this into like a date situation or like getting something set up. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Like with this guy that I was texting back and forth, like I was also noticing too, this was one of the things that I like didn't like that was making me reconsider. I was doing a lot of like the question asking. Like I was asking all the questions about this guy. Like I was scrolling back up being like,
yeah, let me check
when has
my
this
work
person
here.
like asked me a question? And I just wasn't liking that because I was the only one. Like the conversation like looked like we were talking about a lot, but this person was like, it was getting better towards the end, but like I initially was asking,
you were doing some heavy
all
lifting.
the questions, and then like they're responding and like they're giving their responses like they're double texting whatever,
but
and
more
then
about
like
themselves.
I would have to be like, okay, segue into like this next topic of conversation because you're not giving me anything, you're not asking me anything. So yeah, that was just like another thing that I noticed that I was like, I'm not really vibing with this.
Yeah.
And I know not everyone's a texter, but like this person we were texting semi-frequently, that like I wouldn't say they weren't a texter.
Yeah. I wish that I still had, like obviously I don't have Hinge anymore, but like I'm pretty sure my boyfriend, like within the first like 2 or 3 messages was like when he set up the first date. Like we really didn't talk at all, which is kind of nice because then like going into the date, I was like, I don't have any feelings about this. Like I'm not overly like, excited. Like I'm not hyping it up enough. I'm like, I could leave this totally like indifferent. I could hate the guy or maybe I'm interested. Like I was like, there's no like bad scenario here because I've either gone on a date, which like good for me, and like have nothing to lose and like maybe I'm not interested, or like maybe I am interested and like that's exciting. That's the whole point of dating. So I appreciated that. I wish I could go back and find a conversation like when we first started messaging. But actually, fun fact, when we were like still in the talking stage, I guess, or like we'd been going on dates, I was like had the Hinge app, but I was like paused because I was like, I can't juggle more than one person at a time. Like if I'm dating someone or like going on dates with them, like that's it. Like I'm just gonna see it through, And so I like would go to like my messages like with him, and like we weren't on the app anymore, but like we would like I would see like he was one of my matches, and then eventually he disappeared.
You're like,
and I was like, I think this is a good sign because he deleted his account. I think he has to delete the whole thing. Otherwise, if you just delete the app,
yeah, your account's
still there. So I was like, I think this is a good sign. But yeah, now I couldn't go back and look at our messages even if I wanted to.
Okay. we have been talking a lot about the female perspective and things like that. Is there anything else that you want to add, or, you know, from a woman's perspective, what's
I will say, just today? Like from what my boyfriend has told me about, like when he was on Hinge, they do have it rough out there. Like in terms of reciprocation. We're gonna get into that. Okay.
What'd you say?
Like reciprocation. Like he'd be like, "How many matches did you get?" Okay. Like a day, and I'd be like, or like not matches, but like how many likes did you get? And I'd be like, I don't know, like
you know what,
5 to 10 on a good day. I don't know. And he was like, I get like 1 a week.
I feel like, and I don't know, maybe I've just gone downhill. I used to get like my match when I like first got on Hinge, not to toot my own horn, but like I feel like my match rate was like 100% almost. Like I almost always expected to get a match back. That's not the case anymore. I'm like, I know that I've actively been like, dang, the match percentage is getting like more rough out here. Jesus. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, to the best of our abilities, for any of our male listeners out there, a man's perspective on why it sucks to be dating in this day and age. Okay, first we're going to do pros and cons because that's how it's separated out here. So pros for men, it's easier to approach and meet people via apps. So like there is less pressure on guys to like have to make the first move or like go put themselves out there in like a public situation, which I think can be both good and bad. There's less pressure on men to make the first move. I definitely feel like we live in a society where women can make the first move, and like sometimes I feel like things are more likely honestly to go somewhere because men just sometimes feel less able to make the first move. Which, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like men have like arbitrarily made this like rule that's not a rule in terms of like... I
think that men hear like women talking about like men bothering them and like they're worried about like Me Too movement stuff, which is like
this is mentioned on here too. This is mentioned on here too.
It's so crazy how that's being conflated to like talking to a woman.
Because here's a con: confusion around how to court respectfully in a post Me Too world.
That's like that's crazy.
I think here is like, this is my, if this fails you, like come message me personally, because I would be shocked if this like were to put you in like an uncomfortable, weird situation. If you're interested in a girl and you know you get
a woman.
Yeah. You get bonus points if you're out about, and like if you get eye contact back and forth and like any sort of like hint of a smile, like you're golden. Like I'd say go up and like, you know, shoot your shot. Like admittedly, if I were to see a cute guy in public that I would be interested in, or like you don't always see like everyone that's around you, but like I am not looking at you again. So, you know, I don't think you have to like wait for someone to look at you or like have an actual like someone smile at you. I think those are good. You get, you know, a little bit extra courage and motivation if you get that. But if you see someone you're interested in a public space, I feel like, you know, go up. You can, you know, start a little small chit chatter if you want. But I also feel like the woman, like you're probably not going to like start a conversation in like a quick like passing of the night. So I think you should just shoot your shot and say like, hey, I saw you. If you're single, like I'd be interested in getting your number. Or you could say like, or I'd be happy to give you my number if you want to make sure like there's, you know, they're getting the accurate information. Then it's like the onus is on them now. Okay. If they're interested and they like kind of start, you know, continuing the conversation from there, great.
Say, like,
you're golden.
Yeah. If they say like, yeah, sure, here's my number. Okay. Talk to them.
If they accept your number, because like I imagine if a woman's not like super rude, first of all, they might just be like, I'm not interested. I'm not single, whatever. Okay. Your time there is done. Leave. You don't have to leave the place, but like step out of their zone. But otherwise, like you hand them the paper, I would still say like, you know, hope to hear from you if you want, and then like still get out of their zone, get out of their space. That is perfectly respectful. That is not scary. That is not intrusive. Also, for the love of God, do numbers and do not ask someone for their Snapchat, please. I know some guys kind of think it's like a privacy thing, like someone doesn't want to give out their phone number, but like I would just ask for someone's number, or you give, you know, your number to them and see what happens from there. Because if someone comes up and asks me for my Snapchat, the answer is no immediately. We actually had that happen to us when we were at the beach a couple years ago. we talked about this before. Yeah,
it was weird.
You gotta pick like someone. You can't just kind of like have an open like shoot your shot to whoever. You have to pick who it is you're interested in, shoot your shot, and then, you know, no matter what happens, you back out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Other pros. If you're a guy who's, you know, in touch with his emotions, I feel like now as a society we kind of, you know, try to encourage guys to be in touch with their emotions and be more emotionally available and introspective. And so those are all good things. Additional cons, as has been mentioned, feeling disposable or ignored on dating apps and having low match rates. Not good for the morale.
No. I do feel like it's, again, men are out here like trying to compensate for, I think, how picky women tend to be on dating apps. And so like they're casting a wide net and will almost just like anyone that they deem as like decently attractive and like see if it sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like from there, if they get matches, like that's when they would like do their filtering. Versus I feel like women,
right? It's
do
a
their
different
filtering
take
ahead of time.
on. Women are going to have like their smaller net and hope that stuff works out, and then guys, I think you would feel better about already being more selective and picky. Like, don't match with someone if you're already kind of like, there's these, you know, XYZ things that like I don't really see myself dating this person. So then why would you match with them if then I feel like that leads to, well, I personally feel like I experience where it's just like, okay, I'm actually like, we got the match, but now like I'm not really interested in actually doing anything else. So I feel like guys should be more selective as well in who they choose to match with or not. And I know as a guy, sometimes they just want to be like, you know, they want a match because then everyone gets their little dopamine hit. Everyone feels a little happy. Everyone gets a little ego boost. And then nothing else really matters.
That is the other issue with dating apps, though. Is like it's not just dating; it's like the use of the app, like to get that little dopamine hit. You know.
Another con for men: pressure to have money, status, or masculine traits to be desirable. Being perceived as emotionally unavailable, even when that's not the case. The state of dating in 2025. Where do we go from here?
I mean, online dating's not going anywhere. If anything, it's probably just going to like further invade our lives. And I think as long as you treat online dating as like a supplement to like living your life the way that you want to authentically live it, then like you're either going to meet someone that you would meet naturally anyways, going about your daily routine, or you're supplementing with dating apps because we don't have these third world places.
I feel like I'm honestly like, I need to find like third spaces again. And I've gotten like some input from TikTok of like where those third spaces are, but I'm like, the catch is I need to find a third space that I actually really genuinely truly care about and enjoy, because all of these ideas so far I'm like, I don't care to be in this third space.
Yeah, you have to care.
What about dating app burnout? We can kind of finish with this. I am burnt out from using dating apps. And I also like...
You should give me your Hinge and then like I'll look at it for you.
Okay. We'll do that after.
Okay.
I'll
take care of it.
I go in...
Then you don't have to worry about it, and I'll pick someone good for you.
I go in spurts like most people on dating apps where it's like, I'll pause it, I'll unpause it. I'll delete my account entirely, then I'll download the app and get it again. It just gets tiring. You know, everything we've talked about in this episode, that like just is
the issue
annoying.
is, and this is true for any dating ever, it's like it's not going to work regardless of in person, online, whatever. It's not going to work unless the person works. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's a lot of like disheartening, you know, thing after thing of it not working until it does. So like the whole process itself just is draining.
Because like when I like met my boyfriend on Hinge, people have been like, should I like do Hinge or not? I'm like, I don't know. Like it does or it doesn't work. There's no, like, I wouldn't look to someone who said like, oh, I found my past 5 boyfriends on Hinge. I'd be like, dang, why? What's going on? How have you met 5 people on Hinge? But like, you know, whether I would have met like my boyfriend in person or somewhere else. Obviously, I don't know how that would have come to be, but like I feel like it would have worked because like we work and not because of Hinge. Like it's just the medium, unfortunately, is the barrier of like how you find these people, and it will or won't click based off of the person on the other side of the screen. Is my take.
We need pools of, we need connected networks. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, with that, I think that's all we've got for today's episode. So,
more of just a ramble, I feel.
It was a bit of a rambly episode, but I have thoughts I felt compelled to share. Had some frustrations, felt compelled to share those as well. And, you know, I think that a good chunk of our listeners are also, you know, some single ladies in their mid-20s of similar demographics. So hopefully this was relatable. And my goal with posting stuff like this and or dating stuff on my TikTok personally is like to kind of just like be able to commiserate together a little bit, because it's a shared experience that like, at least if I have to go through it, at least I'm not going through it alone.
We're dragging you with her. Okay. Follow us on Instagram at According To. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch the videos online, see our beautiful faces. And I think that's going to do it. We will talk to you guys next Thursday or on Saturday for book club.
Bye.